Every night at exactly 3:17 a.m., Clara Ramirez would hear the soft thud on her porch. The sound was always the same. Deliberate. Precise. Like someone placing a package on her doorstep with careful intention. Every morning, she would find them waiting for her. Perfect white feathers. Arranged in a neat row on her windowsill. Always the same number. Always 7. Each feather was pristine, as if it had been carefully selected and placed with purpose. At first, she thought it was just a coincidence. Birds lose feathers. It happens all the time. Spring molting season. Wind blowing debris around. Simple explanations for simple occurrences. But after 2 weeks of this strange ritual, Clara began to feel something she had not felt since her husband Daniel died 6 months ago. A chill that ran down her spine every time she opened her front door. A sense of being observed. Studied. Watched. Someone was watching her. The 50-year-old widow had been living alone in their cottage on the edge of Millbrook Forest since the funeral. The house felt enormous without Daniel's presence. His coffee cup still sat in the sink. His reading glasses remained on the nightstand. His side of the bed stayed cold and untouched. Daniel had died suddenly on a Tuesday morning in March. Heart failure, the doctors said. Massive cardiac arrest. No warning signs. No previous health issues. No family history of heart problems. One day he was chopping wood in their backyard, humming his favorite Beatles song. The next day he was lying in a hospital bed, surrounded by beeping machines and the smell of antiseptic. Clara had accepted it as God's will. Death comes when it comes. You cannot fight fate. You cannot question the universe's plan. Until the feathers started appearing. Mrs. Ramirez, you need to get some sleep, her neighbor Mrs. Delgado said during their weekly coffee meeting at the local diner. You look exhausted. Your eyes are bloodshot. You have dark circles that makeup cannot hide. Clara stirred her coffee absent-mindedly, watching the cream swirl in hypnotic patterns. I keep hearing noises at night. Something landing on my porch. Heavy footsteps. Scratching sounds. Probably just raccoons. They love garbage cans. Or maybe deer. They come down from the forest this time of year looking for food. But Clara knew it was not raccoons. She had seen the silhouette through her bedroom window. Large wings that spanned at least 4 feet. A round head that turned almost completely around. Piercing yellow eyes that seemed to look right through her soul, reading her thoughts and fears. It was an owl. The 4th week, Clara decided to stay awake. She positioned herself by the living room window with a cup of chamomile tea and a flashlight. The house was silent except for the ticking of Daniel's old grandfather clock. The same clock that had belonged to his father and grandfather before him. Every tick seemed to echo through the empty rooms. Every creak of the old wooden floors made her jump. Every shadow cast by the moonlight looked like an intruder. 3:15 a.m. Clara checked her watch. Her palms were sweating despite the cool night air. 3:16 a.m. She held her breath, listening for any sound from outside. 3:17 a.m. A soft thud echoed from the porch, followed by the gentle sound of something being placed carefully on the wooden boards. Clara's heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. Blood rushed through her veins like a river during spring floods. Her hands trembled as she crept toward the front door. Through the peephole, she saw nothing. Just the empty porch illuminated by the yellow glow of the street light. But she could feel it. The presence. The watching. The intelligence behind those yellow eyes. She opened the door slowly, the hinges creaking like they always did. There, perched on the porch railing, was the most beautiful owl she had ever seen. Pure white feathers that seemed to glow in the moonlight. Enormous yellow eyes that held an ancient wisdom. It sat completely still, as if it had been waiting for her. As if this meeting had been planned for weeks. "Hello there," Clara whispered, her voice barely audible. The owl tilted its head, studying her with those penetrating eyes. Then it spread its magnificent wings and flew directly toward the forest, disappearing into the darkness between the trees. Clara watched it disappear into the night. When she looked at her windowsill, the 7 feathers were arranged in their usual perfect row. But something about the owl's behavior made her curious. The way it had waited for her. The way it had looked at her with such intelligence. Over the following nights, Clara began to notice patterns. The owl would arrive at exactly the same time. Leave the same number of feathers in the same arrangement. And always fly toward the same section of the forest. It was almost like it was trying to communicate something. Like it wanted her to follow. Clara spent the next day thinking about Daniel's final weeks. He had been taking longer walks in the forest. Coming home later than usual. He seemed preoccupied, distracted. When she asked about it, he would just smile and say he was enjoying the peace of nature. But maybe there was more to it than that. That night, Clara waited by the window again. She wore Daniel's old sweater, breathing in the faint scent of his cologne that still lingered in the fabric. At 3:17 a.m., the owl returned. This time, it did not just drop the feathers and leave. It perched on the railing and stared directly at her through the glass. Clara opened the door, her heart hammering in her chest. The owl flew toward the forest, then stopped on a tree branch about 50 feet away. It looked back at her with those intelligent yellow eyes. Waiting. Beckoning. Clara grabbed a flashlight and her warmest jacket. She followed. The owl led her deeper into Millbrook Forest than she had ever been. Past the hiking trails that Daniel used to take her on during their weekend walks. Past the old creek where they had shared their first kiss 25 years ago. Past the no trespassing signs that had been posted by the local factory just 6 months ago. The forest was alive with sounds. Branches creaking in the wind. Leaves rustling under her feet. Small animals scurrying through the underbrush. But Clara felt safe following the owl. Protected. Guided. After 20 minutes of walking through increasingly dense woods, Clara saw a light ahead. A warm, yellow glow filtering through the trees. A small cabin she had never noticed before, despite living in this area for 15 years. The owl landed on the cabin's roof and let out a single, haunting hoot that echoed through the forest. Clara approached the door. It was made of heavy oak wood with iron hinges. The kind of door that was built to last. It was unlocked. Inside, her heart stopped. The cabin was filled with Daniel's belongings. His favorite coffee mug, the blue one with the chip on the handle that she had begged him to throw away. His reading glasses, the ones he needed for small print. His worn leather jacket hanging on a hook by the door, the same jacket he had worn on their first date. But Daniel had never mentioned owning a cabin. In 25 years of marriage, he had never spoken about this place. Never brought her here. Never even hinted at its existence. Clara's flashlight beam swept across the room. The cabin was small but well furnished. A single bed with a handmade quilt. A small kitchen with a camp stove and basic supplies. Shelves lined with books about wildlife and environmental science. On a small table near the window, she found a leather journal. The same journal Daniel had carried everywhere for the past 2 years. She opened it to the first page with trembling fingers. Property of Daniel Ramirez, it read in his familiar handwriting. Private notes. Clara's hands shook as she read the first entry, dated 8 months ago. Found an injured owl near the factory runoff today. Wing appears to be broken in 2 places. Severe trauma to the right side. Bringing her to the cabin to recover. The forest is no place for a wounded bird. I will call her Luna. Clara flipped through more pages. Entry after entry about nursing the owl back to health. Daniel had been coming to this cabin for months. Taking care of Luna. Feeding her fresh mice and small fish. Building her a perch. Helping her learn to fly again. But why had he never told her? Why had he kept this secret? The answer came on page 47, in an entry dated 5 months ago. Luna is fully recovered, but she refuses to leave. I think she knows what I know. The factory is poisoning everything. The water. The soil. The animals. Found 3 dead deer near the chemical runoff last week. Their bodies were covered in the same strange rash I have been seeing on the forest animals. Chemical burns. Toxic exposure. Clara's blood ran cold. She kept reading, her hands trembling with each page. I am going to document everything. Take photographs. Collect water samples. Soil samples. Test the pH levels. Someone needs to stop them before they kill the entire forest. The entries grew more urgent. More detailed. More frightened. They know I am watching them. A man in a black suit came to the house today asking Clara about my research interests. Claimed he was from an environmental survey company. I told Clara he was selling insurance. Could not worry her. Not yet. Not until I have proof. Found more dead animals today. 2 rabbits. A fox. A family of squirrels. All with the same chemical burns. Luna led me to them. It is almost like she understands what is happening. Like she is trying to show me the evidence. Collected water samples from 6 different locations along the river. All contaminated. pH levels are off the charts. This is not accidental runoff. This is deliberate dumping. I have enough evidence now. Water samples testing positive for mercury, lead, and industrial solvents. Photographs of dead animals. Documentation of illegal dumping schedules. I am going to the police tomorrow. This ends now. Clara noticed something odd about the cabin's floorboards near the kitchen. One section looked newer, slightly raised. She pried it up with a kitchen knife and found a hidden compartment containing sealed plastic bags filled with water samples, soil samples, and photographs of dead animals. There were also copies of factory schedules and chemical shipping manifests. The final entry was dated 1 day before Daniel's death, written in shaky handwriting. Someone broke into the cabin last night. They searched everything, overturned furniture, went through all my books, even tore apart the mattress. But they didn't find what they were looking for. The most important evidence is safely hidden where they would never think to look. I am scared. Truly scared. But I cannot stop now. Too many innocent creatures are dying. Too many families will be affected if this continues. Clara closed the journal with shaking hands. Tears streamed down her face as the terrible thought became clear. Daniel had not died of heart failure. He had been murdered. Before we continue, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, it really helps the channel grow. A soft hoot from outside made Clara look up. Luna was perched on the windowsill, her yellow eyes gleaming in the darkness. The owl's gaze was intense, intelligent, almost human in its depth of understanding. You have been trying to tell me, haven't you? Clara whispered, her voice breaking. You have been bringing me those feathers because you know what happened to Daniel. You know who killed him." Luna tilted her head as if she understood every word. Then she spread her wings and flew to Daniel's jacket, perching on the sleeve. She hooted once, soft and mournful. Clara spent the rest of the night reading through Daniel's research. The evidence was overwhelming. The Millbrook chemical factory had been illegally dumping toxic waste into the forest for at least 2 years. The chemicals were killing everything they touched. Fish, birds, mammals. Even the trees were showing signs of poisoning. And Daniel had been about to expose them. Clara gathered all the evidence and drove to the police station the next morning. Her eyes were red from crying and lack of sleep. Her hands still trembled as she carried the box of materials into the building. "Mrs. Ramirez, I understand you are grieving," Detective Rodriguez said after reviewing the materials. He was a middle-aged man with kind eyes but a skeptical expression. "But accusing Millbrook Chemical of murder is a very serious allegation. They employ half this town." "Look at the evidence," Clara insisted, spreading the photographs across his desk. "The water samples. The dead animals. The timeline. Daniel died the day after he planned to come here. Your husband died of heart failure. The autopsy was clear. Dr. Henderson is the best coroner in the state. Then why did he hide this cabin from me? Why was he so secretive in his final weeks? Why did he tell me that man was selling insurance when he was clearly asking about environmental research?" Detective Rodriguez sighed and rubbed his temples. "People process trauma differently, Mrs. Ramirez. Maybe he was trying to protect you. Maybe he did not want you to worry about his hobby. Environmental research is not a hobby when animals are dying." "I will look into it," he promised. "But I need you to understand that without concrete proof of foul play, there is not much I can do." Clara left the station frustrated but not defeated. If the police would not help, she would find another way. She had been a paralegal before she married Daniel. She knew how to research, how to investigate, how to find the truth. That afternoon, she received a phone call that changed everything. "Mrs. Ramirez? This is Anna Chen, investigative journalist for the Tribune. I heard through some sources that you might have information about environmental violations at the Millbrook Chemical Factory." Clara's heart raced. "How did you hear about that?" "I have been investigating them for months. Can we meet? I think we can help each other." They arranged to meet at Rosie's Diner, a small restaurant on the edge of town where Clara and Daniel used to go for Sunday breakfast. Anna was a young woman in her 30s with sharp, intelligent eyes and a determined expression. She carried a leather briefcase and a digital recorder. "Your husband was not the first person to notice the factory's illegal activities," Anna explained over coffee and pie. "But he was the most thorough. I have been trying to get evidence for my story for 6 months. This research could shut them down permanently." "What about his death?" Clara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Anna's expression darkened. "That is what I want to investigate. 3 other environmental activists have died in the past year. All from sudden heart attacks. All were investigating industrial pollution." 3 others? A biology professor from the university. A park ranger. A retired EPA scientist. All healthy men between 40 and 60. All died within days of reporting environmental violations. Clara felt the room spinning. "You think they were all murdered?" "I think someone is eliminating people who threaten their business. Let me look into it. I have contacts at the coroner's office. Medical examiners who might be willing to talk." They agreed that Anna would publish her exposé on Monday morning. It would include all of Daniel's research along with Anna's own 6-month investigation. The story would run on the front page of the Tribune and be picked up by national news networks. Clara drove home feeling hopeful for the first time in months. Justice was finally within reach. Daniel's death would not be in vain. But that night, she found more than feathers on her windowsill. A white envelope with her name written in block letters. The paper was expensive. Heavy stock. The kind used for wedding invitations or funeral announcements. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a message typed in capital letters. Drop the story or you will join your husband. We know where you live. We know where you work. We know where you shop. This is your only warning. Clara's hands trembled as she read the words. Someone was watching her. Someone who knew exactly what she was doing. Someone who had killed Daniel and was prepared to kill her too. She called Anna immediately. I got the same message, Anna said grimly. Someone slipped it under my apartment door while I was at work. They are getting desperate. Should we stop? Maybe we should just let this go. Absolutely not. This proves we are onto something big. I am moving the publication date to tomorrow morning. We cannot give them time to cover this up or intimidate more people. Clara barely slept that night. Every sound made her jump. Every shadow seemed threatening. She kept Daniel's old baseball bat beside her bed and checked the locks on her doors 3 times. At 3:17 a.m., Luna appeared on her windowsill. But instead of dropping feathers, she began frantically tapping on the glass with her beak. Her yellow eyes were wide with alarm. Clara opened the window, and Luna flew inside. The owl began circling the living room, hooting urgently. Her feathers were ruffled. Her movements were agitated. What is it, Luna? What is wrong? The owl flew to the front door and back to Clara repeatedly. Then she landed on Clara's shoulder and gently tugged at her hair with her beak. Clara understood. Luna wanted her to go somewhere. Now. They drove through the empty streets toward Anna's apartment complex. Luna sat calmly on the passenger seat, as if she had done this many times before. As if she had been Daniel's partner in more than just environmental research. When they arrived, Clara saw the ambulance. Red and blue lights flashing. Paramedics rushing in and out of the building. What happened? Clara asked the neighbor who was standing outside in her bathrobe. Anna Chen. 3rd floor. They found her collapsed in her apartment about an hour ago. Heart attack, they think. She is only 32 years old. Never had any health problems. Clara's blood turned to ice. Her worst fears were confirmed. Anna had been poisoned. Just like Daniel. At the hospital, Clara waited in the sterile corridor as doctors worked to save Anna's life. Luna perched on her shoulder, unusually calm now. The owl seemed to understand that they had arrived too late to prevent the attack, but not too late to save Anna's life. Are you family? A doctor asked when he finally emerged from the emergency room. Friend, Clara said. Close friend. How is she? Critical condition. Her heart stopped twice. We managed to get it beating again, but she is in a coma. The next 24 hours will be crucial. Clara felt the weight of the world crushing down on her. 2 people had now been poisoned for trying to expose the truth. She was probably next. But Luna had other plans. The owl flew to the window and began tapping on the glass again. When Clara opened it, Luna flew outside and landed on a black sedan in the parking lot. She began hooting urgently, her yellow eyes fixed on the car. Clara followed her outside. Inside the car, she could see a man in a dark suit talking on his phone. His windows were slightly open, and she could hear fragments of his conversation. "Told you the journalist would be handled tonight," he was saying. "The injection worked perfectly. Looks like heart failure every time." Clara's heart stopped. She crept closer to the car, holding her phone up to record. "Now we just need to deal with the widow. She knows too much. Has too much evidence. Same method as the husband. Same injection. Causes immediate cardiac arrest. Looks like natural heart failure every time. No one suspects a thing." Clara had heard enough. She ran back to the hospital and called Detective Rodriguez. "I have a recording," she said breathlessly. "Proof that my husband was murdered. Proof that someone tried to kill Anachin tonight." This time, Detective Rodriguez listened. The investigation moved quickly once Clara's recording provided concrete evidence. The man in the black sedan was Ethan Cole, head of security for Millbrook Chemical. He was arrested within hours. His phone contained text messages coordinating Daniel's murder and Anna's attempted murder. With this new evidence, Detective Rodriguez immediately contacted the hospital's chief of staff. "We need to run a full toxicology panel on Anachin," he said. The results came back within 6 hours. Anna's blood tests revealed dangerously high levels of a substance, far exceeding what could occur naturally. The poison had been injected directly into her bloodstream, causing her heart to stop. "This is definitely attempted murder," Dr. Peterson, the hospital's chief toxicologist, confirmed. "Another hour and she would have been dead. The dosage was calculated to kill." Armed with this evidence, Detective Rodriguez obtained a court order for the exhumation of Daniel's remains. 3 days later, the results confirmed what Clara had suspected all along. Daniel's tissue samples contained the same poison that had nearly killed Anna. The levels were even higher, explaining why he had died so quickly. The factory's CEO, Robert Ortega, was arrested at his mansion the next morning. His computer contained emails discussing the elimination of environmental threats. Bank records showed payments to Ethan Cole totaling over $200,000 over the past 2 years. "It was all about money," Agent Collins explained. "Cleaning up their environmental violations would have cost them millions. They decided it was cheaper to kill the people who threatened to expose them." The poison was obtained through the factory's medical facility. Cole had been stealing small amounts over months, building up a supply for his assassination work. The Millbrook Chemical Factory was shut down permanently. The Environmental Protection Agency declared the site a Superfund cleanup location, requiring decades of remediation. Anna recovered from her coma after 3 weeks. Her story, published with Daniel's research, won a Pulitzer Prize and led to nationwide reforms in environmental protection laws. Clara kept Luna as her companion. The owl had saved her life and helped her find the truth. She converted Daniel's cabin into a wildlife sanctuary, where Luna could live freely while remaining close to Clara. On the 1-year anniversary of Daniel's death, Clara sat on her porch with Luna perched beside her. The forest was healing. The river was clean again. New animals were returning to the area. "Thank you," she whispered to the owl. "For everything. For bringing me the truth. For protecting me. For making sure Daniel's work was not in vain." Sometimes the smallest creatures carry the biggest truths, and the most unexpected messengers deliver the most important messages. Have you ever witnessed animals helping people in difficult situations? Share your answer in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next stories.